This is episode number 113. We've had a lot of questions about working from home. How do we do it? How can you do it more effectively? That's coming up.
This is the Red Podcast. Real entrepreneur development. Make more money, work less, and live a life of freedom. No BS advice that really works. Here's your hosts, David Hooper and Laurel Staples.
Over the weekend, I was upstairs doing some business, minding my own business. Dog starts going crazy. You were downstairs. I didn't know what was going on. When I came down later, you let me know. You said somebody was knocking on the door.
I don't like to answer the door because it's never anybody that I know. So why would I answer it?
It was somebody that I knew, apparently, judging by their calling card. The Jehovah's Witnesses were back. I did an entire episode of Red Podcast about the Jehovah's Witnesses. They came by. I wanted to talk. I didn't have the opportunity to do that. And they came back by to visit me. Maybe.
Aw.
We don't know.
They like you.
We don't know. Episode number 89, redpodcast.com/89. I told her I'm not interested in converting. She said, I just want to talk to you about the Bible. I said, all right, whatever. Can I come back and do it? Why not? And I don't know if it's the same lady or if they're just canvassing the neighborhood once again, but I've got me another copy of the Watchtower just in case.
There you go. Yeah, I did not want to get into that. And I couldn't sneak up to the door to see who it was, so I just let the dog bark.
No, it's apparently a very long discussion when you invite these guys in, but that's what I wanted to talk about. Nobody's glad to see you. How do you do it day after day? Keep knocking on doors, dogs barking, just like our dog was barking. People not answering the door, hiding behind furniture, just like you were doing.
I was hiding behind the wall, not the furniture.
In the back room.
I just want to say I was not
No, we've done that,
crouched
though.
under
When
the
those
table.
kids came by that time,
Yeah.
asking for money for candy or whatever they were selling. This is the Red Podcast. Red stands for Real Entrepreneur Development. We help you build an audience, sell more products, and make more money. We're business optimizers. We show you how to be more efficient in your marketing and find the hidden money that's sitting right in front of you. The big reason? So you can live life on your terms. And we've gotten a lot of comments, a lot of questions regarding working from home. People want to know, how do you do it? How can I do it more efficiently? So we're going to have that discussion today. You've been working from home for a while. You had an office. I've had offices. But for some reason, we've brought it back home.
Yeah, I'm not actually a fan of going to an office. That was something that I didn't like when I was working my 9-to-5 job, and I had an office after that for my coaching at a retail store, which I had an office in it.
That's kind of an office, yeah.
That's an office. That had an office in it. And then when I got into coaching, I had an office to see clients in because I started out just coaching local people in Nashville, Tennessee, and I wanted to do it in person. And eventually it just all came back home because I love commuting down the hall to my office about 20 feet.
I had an office, well, the last office I've had a few. 21st Avenue is where it was. And at the time I was living on 18th Avenue. You're talking 3 streets over. Didn't even want to walk to the office.
Why not?
Too much work. Started working from home more and more. I said, I got to shut this thing down. It just felt really cold. I was working inside an old convent, which was pretty interesting. I think it was actually haunted. Kind of a cool vibe. Looked like an old convent would, sort of like a church, if you don't know what that looks like. You used to have nuns that lived there.
Was it haunted by nuns?
I think it was. You know who I think it was haunted by? I think it was haunted by the little girls that were going to school there. Because you could hear in the gym, I was right next to the gym, and you could hear like, kind of like shoes on a basketball court. I'd stay in there late at night. The thing was built super strong. One time there was a huge storm coming through. I was listening to satellite radio, working on some stuff late into the night, came out in the middle of this storm, had no idea this was going on. But you'd hear the shoes. Anyway.
We're going to call Ghostbusters now.
I didn't leave because it was haunted. I left because it just wasn't for me. Too much like real work.
Some people love having an office. Nothing wrong with it. Some people think that's the best way to segment the work that you do. If you work for yourself, you go to your office, you get your work done, see your clients, you have all your phone calls, and then you come home and you can do what you do at home. And it's a great way to segment. For me, I don't have as much of an issue segmenting and getting work done. So it just was never as important for me. And the reasons that I had it were, of course, in the retail store, I needed to get work done that wasn't on the floor of the retail store. And then as a coach, I needed a place to see people. So I had a purpose for each. But working now over the phone with clients, just don't need that space anymore, and just wasn't worth it to me to have it. It's more of a hassle.
Speaking of segmenting, scheduling is something that people are questioning about. Do you segment your schedule, or do you find that it's all one big blur? You're always working or maybe always not working?
For me, my schedule is different in different seasons, actually. What I mean by that is I like to exercise about 6-7 days a week, anywhere from 5 to 7 days a week, I'd say. And in the summer or the warmer months, I'm getting out early before it gets hot. I'm exercising. I'm outside. I'm hiking. I'm doing more of that. And in the winter, I'm not. I'm sleeping in a little bit later. I'm exercising in the middle of the afternoon. And so I plan my exercise schedule first, because that, for me, is a really important thing, something I'm always going to get in. And then I plan my work around that. So in the summertime, it's going to be that I get out, I get my exercise early, and then I work for most of the day until dinner, and then cook dinner and take the night off. On winter schedules, it's a little bit different. I just get up and I start working, exercise in the middle of the afternoon, and work till dinner time. So a little bit different there. I'm someone who can compartmentalize and get stuff done when I need to get it done, so I don't need to segment in terms of the office space. What about you, David?
My daily schedule differs every day. Now, weekly, it's the same thing every week. Pretty much Mondays are the same, Tuesdays are the same, Wednesdays are the same. Some days I'm up very early, 5:45, go work out. Some days I'm up a little bit later, 7 at the latest, go to the yoga studio, hit that. Other days I work a little bit, read a little bit in the morning, then I do my workout in the afternoon. And the work fits in those spaces where I'm not out doing something or not at the gym or not doing yoga, those spaces. It does change for me, but every week I'm pretty consistent with the schedule. I'm a guy that if you told me to go do something every week, I wouldn't do it. But if it's up to me, I'm good about having habits. And you kind of make fun of me, Laurel, for being a guy that has habits. I mean, not in a bad way.
Tell me what you mean.
Well, for example, a lot of times I'll eat the same thing for lunch every day. Just one less decision that I have to make. And I'm pretty much a guy who's on routine. Well, you know how birds will migrate?
Yes, I've heard of such a thing.
That's me. They come back to the same nest, and that's what I do. I go back to the same things that work for me. No reason to really branch out.
It's not that you have habits that I find to be amusing, David. It's that you make a decision, and it's a forever decision. That's what I think it's so amusing, because I've never seen anyone do that before. Is, for example, you decided that you were going to go to this Saturday morning workout that you do in a park near our house. You decided that, I guess, a couple months ago now, and unless it's raining, you are going to get up and be there. And I have a feeling that's going to happen till the end of time. And I just think that's funny that so many people have trouble putting habits into place. And I think we all do. You do as well. But when you actually decide on something, it's a forever decision.
See, most wives, considering that we're married, you'd be really excited about these forever decisions. The whole death do you part thing, or billion years if you're a Scientologist, or eternity if you're a Mormon. Most wives would really be into that. You're a little bit more laid back.
Yeah, I'm not worried about forever.
Regarding schedule, we're pretty consistent about that. Laurel's got her thing going on. She switches it via season. I switch mine really never. I don't add something new to it unless I'm going to do it till the day I die.
What helps for me, again, is I have those things that I want to accomplish during the week, and I'll write those down, my exercise routine, when I want to do that. I'll write down the appointments that I have for that week, anything with a time associated with it, like a client meeting or a networking event or something like that. And then I'll fill in the gaps of what I need to accomplish that week. That works pretty well for me to get stuff done. I've done it enough that I know if I have 3 meetings that day and I want to get some exercise, I know the amount of work that I can get done on top of that. that helps me just stay consistent, get stuff done. I usually plan out my week every Sunday, go through it, and pretty much check everything off the list because I've done it so many times I can plan accordingly. And that helps me. I don't need an office space to do it in, aside from the office in our home. And it works well to do stuff and get stuff done.
Let's talk about the offices in our home, because we do have dedicated space for work. I think probably more of our home is for work than it actually is for living, because we've got an entire top floor that more or less is for work, including the Red Studio.
Yes, my office is downstairs, which is kind of nice because we can segment. You're upstairs and I'm downstairs, so that helps us. The rest of the upstairs, we have our TV room, but the other areas are just for work or planning or things like that.
You got a photo studio. We do a lot of photos and videos. Yeah, in the TV room, that's a great example of segmentation. That's how much we believe in this. A lot of homes, you'll come into them, and above the fireplace, a lot of times, you'll see a television, always on, always a distraction. We didn't want that in our living space. We wanted a living space where we could actually connect with people and connect with each other. So the TV has its own room.
Well, we're really into dedicated spaces. We don't have a TV in the bedroom. As you said, we don't have a TV in the living room, bathrooms. Nowhere do we have a TV except the TV room. And that helps us really segment. Another thing is that you don't want to do work in the bedroom because the bedroom is a place for relaxation or other things that I won't mention here.
Relationships.
Relationship building, those kind of things. And you want to have a dedicated space for that. So you don't want to bring the TV in there. You don't want to bring work in there or a desk in there. You want to get your desk actually as far away from your bedroom as you can. That's a feng shui thing. Actually, I've talked about feng shui before. That's something important. And having a dedicated office space, I think, is equally as important because when you go in your dedicated space, there's the energy in there that you get in the mindset of this is where I do work. Not this is where I relax or this is where I cook or this is where I eat or watch TV, but this is where I get work done.
It's a mental shift for the same reason a lot of people like to wear a suit and tie to work. When they come home, they get out of that suit and tie. Simply a mental shift. Don't put your office in the corner of a room. Have a dedicated room. That's my advice. Sometimes it's not possible. You don't have enough space, but let's see if I could block that off, get you some shoji screens.
It could be for you if your place is too small and you don't have a dedicated room or a big dedicated area to have your office. And it might be a good opportunity for you to get an office space or to rent another space or to do a co-working space or something like that. Because I do think it is important to have at least a dedicated area. It doesn't have to be a separate room to me, but I think it needs to be a dedicated area where there's nothing else going on and you can really focus.
Yeah, definitely not your bedroom.
No.
If at all possible. Office space is surprisingly inexpensive, especially really small offices, because not a lot of people have a need for a small office. They need bigger space. So you can find these small one-off offices. Your coaching office wasn't too large. Quite easy to get into because nobody needed a little space. They needed a bigger space for tons and tons of employees. So if you're working by yourself, you can find a nice little small office quite easily. If that doesn't work, libraries, I think, are great.
Libraries are good. You have to look at what kind of person you are. And for me and you, David, we're both introverts. And I was talking to my friend the other day. She works from home as well, even though she's not an entrepreneur. She just has her job and works at home. She was saying to me that she, being an extrovert, likes to be around people about 80%, 90% of the time, and by herself 10 to 20% of the time. And I'm the other way around. I like to be by myself about 80 to 90% of the time and around other people about 10 to 20% of the time. This is a great fit when you want to work from home. So for me, it's a great fit to have my own office, be by myself, be in the house on my bottom floor alone. That is fantastic for me. For her, it's not as much of a great fit, even though she does it. So if you're an extrovert, it might be looking at something like a co-working space, as I mentioned, something where you're around other people, even if that's an office space where you have a dedicated office, maybe there are other people in that office area. You have to look at those things. Otherwise, you're going to end up being miserable and getting burnt out and not really understand why.
Dedicated or not, I think it's good to have some investment in your office. I think your work is important and it shouldn't be an afterthought. That's one of the reasons not to work at the dining room table. but you also want to have